Ever seen a soldier so underestimated, that even elite warriors laughed, until one salute silenced an entire base? Because behind the quietest faces often hide the fiercest stories. And today, you're about to hear one that will change how you see strength forever. From whispers and ridicule to a moment of truth that flipped everything, this journey will pull you from disbelief to awe. So, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then ring the bell so you never miss another story like this. They saw a pretty picture. They didn't see the warning. On the blistering asphalt of Fort Westlake, Corporal Jenna Cross moved quietly between supply crates, a clipboard in one hand, the other brushing against a faded ink butterfly just above her wrist. To most of the base's hardened operators, it was nothing more than an amateur tattoo. Soft, harmless, and out of place among soldiers who prided themselves on scars earned in battle. They chuckled behind her back, sometimes to her face. Cute butterfly, Cross, they'd sneer. She'd smile faintly and keep walking, saying nothing. But if they'd known where that ink had first seen daylight, if they'd known whose blood had dried beside it, the laughter would have died in their throats. Late one afternoon, a convoy rolled in, black SUVs with tinted windows and no insignia. A tall man stepped out, scanning the yard until his eyes locked on Jenna's wrist. The chatter died. His posture changed. And in a move no one expected, Commander Reese, decorated veteran of a dozen covert campaigns, stepped forward, and saluted her. The butterfly, it seemed, wasn't so harmless after all. It wasn't her face he recognized. It was the mark. The supply yard at Fort Westlake fell silent as Commander Reese's salute hung in the air. The other operators, seasoned men with weathered eyes, exchanged puzzled glances. Reese never saluted first, not to anyone beneath his rank, and certainly not to a logistics corporal. Jenna Cross hesitated, then returned the gesture. Reese stepped closer, his voice dropping so only she could hear. "You were at Raven Fall," he said. 4 words. That was all. But to those who understood, it was like dropping a live grenade in the middle of the yard. Conversations died mid-sentence. A few of the men stiffened, glancing at the butterfly tattoo as if seeing it for the first time. Raven Fall wasn't on any public record. It was a mission spoken of in whispers, a black operation gone so far off the books that most believed it a myth. 20 operatives had entered. Only a handful had made it out. Jenna didn't answer him. She simply handed over the supply crate, her face unreadable, and turned away. But the damage was done. By nightfall, the entire base was buzzing. Who was she? Why had Reese, of all people, saluted her? And why did her ink match the rumored insignia of one of the most dangerous missions in military history? The next morning, as Jenna walked into the mess hall, the whispers grew louder. Some mocked, some doubted, but a few were starting to believe the unthinkable. They didn't know it yet, but the woman they overlooked was about to prove exactly why some ghosts never stay buried. If they wanted proof, she'd give it to them. Just not the way they expected. The mess hall smelled of burnt coffee and powdered eggs, but the air was thick with something heavier, anticipation. Jenna walked in, tray in hand, her boots cutting through the murmurs. Every table seemed to tilt toward her, voices lowering but eyes never leaving. At the far end, 2 officers, Captain Moreland and Major Strick, sat hunched over a photocopy of her tattoo, grinning like kids with a stolen secret. Moreland's voice carried just enough to reach her. "Looks like she thinks ink makes her special," he sneered. A few soldiers snickered. Strick tapped the photo with one finger. "Probably stole it from a boyfriend's jacket." Jenna set her tray down without a sound. Her shoulders loosened, her gaze steady as she stood. The hall quieted, not because she demanded it, but because her presence seemed to pull the volume out of the room. "You want to know where I got it?" Her voice was calm, even bored. From the man who wore it on his chest the day we breached a stronghold in Blackridge Province. I was third in. Strick froze mid-smirk. Morland blinked. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Without waiting for a reply, Jenna crossed the hall to the door marked Operations. She knocked once. A gravelly voice called, "Enter." Inside sat Colonel Halvorsen, a man who'd seen too many battles to bother with pleasantries. Jenna placed a worn, creased document on his desk. His eyes scanned the top line. Operation Revenant, redacted, and then locked on hers. "You're Ember 3, he said quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Colonel Halvorsen didn't move for a long time. His thumb traced the embossed seal at the bottom of the worn document, the kind of clearance stamp you couldn't fake, not without pulling a dozen ghosts out of the shadows to vouch for it. He stood. Slowly. When his chair scraped against the concrete, the sound carried out into the hallway. Then, without hesitation, he straightened to full attention and delivered a crisp, deliberate salute to the woman standing in front of him. "Welcome back, Ember 3, he said, loud enough for the doorway to catch every syllable. A pair of passing corporals froze mid-step. 2 admin clerks lingered in the corridor, exchanging stunned glances. No one had ever seen Halvorsen salute a private first. Jenna returned the gesture, sharp and measured, before turning on her heel. When she stepped back into the mess hall, the temperature had changed. Morland and Strick, who'd been so quick with their jabs an hour earlier, stood rigid beside the coffee urn, their voices gone. Someone had pulled down the photocopied tattoo. Conversations died in her wake. By the time she reached the door, whispers had begun to ripple through the room. Not the mocking kind, this was different. "Ember 3, someone murmured. And just like that, Fort Westlake wasn't laughing anymore. It was 0420 hours when the first blast rolled across Fort Westlake like a giant's fist on steel. The second hit before the echoes of the first had died, and by the third, every soldier on base was scrambling for gear. In the comms room, chaos. On the northern side, voices shouted over each other, possible breach. No visual. Radar's blind. Then, without warning, the blackout swept across the eastern grid. Only one post still had power, Checkpoint Echo. And standing there, rifle in hand, was Jenna Cross. She didn't panic. Didn't call out. She slipped her earpiece free, the static useless to her, and scanned the horizon. Then she saw them, 4 black shapes dropping silently from a low-hovering helicopter, moving with inhuman precision. No patches. No insignia. No mercy. The first cut through the fence like it wasn't even there. Jenna fired once. Center mass. He folded without a sound. 3 left. They hesitated, just long enough for her to slide behind the barricade. A flashbang clattered at her boots. She closed her eyes, counted, rose, and put down 2 more before the ringing stopped. The last made a run for the tower. She was already there, silent as his shadow. "On your knees." He turned, weapon rising, too slow. 1 muffled shot ended it. By the time backup arrived, Jenna was the only thing standing between Fort Westlake and the darkness beyond the fence. 5 bodies lay at her feet, none of them hers. Colonel Halvorsen stopped dead when he saw the scene. "You didn't wait," he said. "No time," she replied. And just like that, the legend of Ember 3 was no longer whispered, it was carved in steel. Life often tests us in moments we least expect, and true strength is revealed in how we respond. Jenna's story reminds us that quiet resilience, discipline, and readiness can outweigh appearances or titles. You don't need recognition to prove your worth, your actions will speak when it matters most. Preparation, courage, and integrity are the foundations that keep us standing when others falter. Never underestimate the power of staying calm under pressure, because the right moment to act can change everything. If this message resonates with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an inspiring story.